Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Ross and I drive my 2024 Subaru Forester Sport. In this video, I want to share with you some of the pro tips that I picked up about this car after owning it for about 18 months now. So let's begin. So the number one pro tip that I would give to anyone who drives a Subaru Forester is to warm up the car before you start driving. Here's why I do this. When I don't do this, the car sounds rough, the CVT is jerky, it pushes you forward, it acts like it skips a gear. The car sounds like it has a disease or something, or getting over a cold. It's just not a pleasant drive, and I found that this could be easily avoided if you just warm up the car. And no, it doesn't mean sitting in the car for 10 minutes, which would be a waste of time. What I usually do is just when I'm still home getting dressed, I would just use my Subaru app and get the car started that way. And then when I arrive into the car, it's already warmed up. It's around 150 degrees at that point, and then around 200 degrees, it's right on the money, right in the middle of the oil temperature gauge. And at that point, the car sounds good, the CVT sounds good, and I don't have any issues with the CVT being jerky. So I would recommend warming up the car, share your experience, and if your car starts acting jerky if you don't warm it up, maybe it's just my unit, I don't know. But in my experience, it's been like really a game changer. So I do it every time. And the analogy I try to make here is that think of yourself sleeping and then somebody wakes you up and says, let's go, let's run a mile. And you're like, what? Huh? What happened? No stretching, nothing. That's what happens when you wake up the car and then you just tell it to go. And nothing's up to speed, nothing's up to temperature. So yeah, in that case, definitely warm it up, and then the whole experience is just so much nicer. So another pro tip I would give you has to do with car washes. Obviously, if you're going for a car wash, remember to close all your windows, remember to close the panoramic moonroof, or you're gonna have a disaster in your hands. But if anybody's gonna be doing your interior, I would recommend turning off this screen right here, because you don't want anybody to basically wipe it with a piece of cloth, and that could mess things up. That's what happened in my case. Basically, I got into the car, everything was clean, but the screen was malfunctioning for maybe like an hour. So I would recommend just holding this button right here, the volume button. You hold it for about 4 seconds, and then the screen is off, and then it's impossible to press anything there. So when I got into the car after the last car wash, basically some app was open, the keyboard was open, like as if you're trying to enter somebody's address or something. So yeah, it was a mess, and then it took me a couple of car restarts in order to fix the problem. So if you're going for a car wash, remember to turn off the screen. So the third pro tip I would give you is to keep the EyeSight area clear. On your windshield here, you have EyeSight cameras. You have basically in the manual, there's a whole chart telling you that you cannot put anything here or there that could potentially interfere with the work of these cameras. And yeah, but having said that, in the real world, I see so many Outbacks and so many Foresters with dash cam cameras attached here, or look at this Easy Pass toll transponder. I mean, I have it here, but I see so many times where people just hide it right here behind the rear view mirror. But yeah, that's great for hiding it, but then it's definitely interfering or possibly interfering with the work of the EyeSight cameras. And Subaru themselves tell you that this is basically a no-go zone. You cannot put anything there. You should not put anything there because it could block the work of the camera, so it could mess with them. And that's the last thing you want when you're driving, for the camera to think that there's an obstacle, while in reality it's just your dash cam or transponder. So basically, keep that in mind and don't clutter the space here. That's designed to be clear. I have my dash cam all the way over there in the corner, and it's been there for 18 months now, no issues. But yeah, I see a lot of parked Subarus that have EyeSight cameras, and this area is cluttered with dash cams or transponders. Definitely don't do this. So another pro tip I would have to give you has to do with all of this stuff right here. So you have in this car adaptive cruise control, you have regular cruise control, you have lane keep assist, you have lane centering. All of that produces different sounds, different graphics, and you have to know this if you're going to use this. So I have a few videos about this topic and how to use it and how I use it, but the best source, of course, is to read the Subaru manual, understand it, and don't start practicing this when you're doing 60 miles an hour on a highway. Please don't, because last thing you want, guys, the last thing you want is for you to think that you're in adaptive cruise, but in reality, somehow you ended up in a regular cruise control and you think your car's gonna brake, and then you're flying into the car that's ahead of you. That's very scary, that's very dangerous. So please be careful. Personally, once I got the car, I learned all the systems. I made a bunch of videos about them. And in my daily, I don't use them. Not at all. I rely on myself, I rely on my own, you know, common sense. Not to say that the systems are bad, it's just when I use them, I notice that I'm less relaxed because I'm constantly monitoring the system, and it's all like, mental gymnastics. Did I lock into the car in front of me? Is it green? Okay, it's green. I heard the sound. Okay, it's cool. So basically, maybe in some parts of the country, it's okay. In Brooklyn, definitely not okay to use this system because the driving here is just so crazy and there's so many cars that it's better, I think, to just use your own common sense and not use the systems. But having said that, I do imagine that if I lived somewhere like Arizona or Montana and there's just like, me and two cars for an hour, then I would love these systems. Just, keep it centered, have the cruise control on, and just relax. Yeah, so yeah, definitely these systems have their place and they're awesome. And every time the car starts braking without you touching the brake pedal, I mean, to me, it's still pretty much witchcraft. But if you're going to be using these systems, learn how to use them in an empty field somewhere where there's no other cars, where it's just you, where you could practice it safely. And please don't do this on open road without reading the manual first. Become an expert, learn it yourself, and then use it if that's something you're going to be into, but don't try it without understanding the systems because they could quickly turn from being helpful, very helpful, to being very dangerous. So that's my tip for you. So the final pro tip has to do with the pedal shifters. Basically, I always found them to be silly and made fun of them a bunch of times. But then I got some comments from you guys, and some of you are actually using them and love the pedal shifters. So yeah, here's the point. I thought that you must be in manual mode, not in drive mode, in order to have access to the pedals and for them to work. But then I was driving one day and I just pressed the pedal. I guess I was bored. And then I saw that the car jumped into the manual mode. So yeah, that's a pro tip. If you're actually going to be using those pedals, you do not necessarily need to shift the gear stick to the manual mode. You could be driving in D, driving in drive, and then basically start doing the pedal thing, and then it works. So yeah, that's the final pro tip for this video. There's gonna be one more coming after this with even more tips, but yeah, stay tuned. Feel free to like and subscribe if you found this video useful. Thanks for watching. Take care, guys.